We represent our dealer members in Washington before Congress and the federal government. What better to symbolize what that is all about when you come into Washington and you see the American Capitol right there.
And so it was important in our new logo to bring the Capitol Dome back into it so that everyone understands where we're fighting our fight and how important that is.
We wanted our members, when they see our acronym or our name, to immediately see the logo and equate that we're working for them in Washington every single day.
And while AIADA supports its dealers in every possible way, you're the ones who support your communities and the economy.
You're the ones who provide jobs for hundreds of thousands of people and sell the most popular vehicles on the road.
You're the ones who are working for America.
And in 2017, that means we all have a lot more work to do.
New leadership in Washington means we get back to our roots, the basics that we built our association on. And so it's a time for us to get to promote that with our dealer members and partners out there.
The two biggest threats we have to our dealers are overregulation and restraint of trade. And restraint of trade affects their inventory.
AIADA must keep the message out to the American people about what trade really means.
The misconception with trade worldwide is that it's somewhere over there. You know, it's done over there.
And we just get caught up into the headlines that free trade's bad, it's costing jobs, when it's actually the exact opposite.
It's going to create more jobs, more income for America, more money that stays on this continent.
Free trade is our building block that builds our dealerships, our communities, and our future. And we've got to let people know that free trade means jobs in America.
That's why we partner with global automakers every year on our Here for America video.
Because we're American made, we help fulfill the American dream amongst a lot of people.
It creates, jobs. It creates excitement. It creates a sense of pride.
The international nameplates employ more people through manufacturing and our dealership employees every day that help our economy thrive.
And if you think that filling 2 Super Bowl stadiums with manufacturing workers is impressive, consider the clout of international nameplate dealership employees working for America.
With 9,500 franchises and a total of 570,000 plus jobs, creating a payroll of $32 billion, that shows how important we are to this industry and to this economy.
The total payroll of $32 billion that work for international nameplate dealers represents 8.3 million car sales, or 57% of the cars sold in this country.
And those sales are the direct result of unprecedented choice.
With 55 models from 10 different manufacturers made here, it does validate what we're doing.
And what you're doing is made easier and more rewarding on AIADA.org. News, information, research, and dialogue are at your fingertips.
And you can also make powerful personal connections.
AIADA communicates the value of your business to the public and the industry through regular publications, statements, and strategies,
including advertising.
And we felt the need to tell our side in a trade campaign that highlights what trade means to America, the value that our members provide in their communities, their employees.
The focus of the ads in automotive news is 3 pillars of trade. The first being that free trade promotes a working economy.
750,000 jobs through trade is a giant number, and we need to promote that and help people understand our impact.
The second pillar is that free trade makes for a satisfied consumer.
Free trade creates choices for Americans.
What car they buy, where do they drive, where do they shop, and the products that they buy. It's good for our economy.
The third pillar is that free trade helps build quality of life in your community.
The more money people make, the more money they spend in the market, so it helps the whole economy.
The message we want to spread is that trade is a part of everyday life in America.
And these three pillars in working for America, this is one way to show what we do as dealers through AIADA to give back to our communities.
And that's what AIADA does best. Make your working for America personal.
It's grassroots, direct connections with legislators and policymakers on your turf and in Washington.
If you care about your business, the sustainability of your business, the growth of your business, if you care about your employees and their opportunities, not just short-term but long-term, then I think you need to be a part of AIADA.
Not only because we keep you informed and connected,
but because we're also full-time advocates with government, the press, and the public about your value to America.
Americans are ready to move forward. Americans are ready to move ahead. Americans are ready to be positive.
We're in exciting times in the car business today, and AIADA is on the forefront of making sure that the international nameplates continue to thrive in the United States economy.
Trade is our livelihood. It provides for our families, internally within the dealerships, our families at home, and the greater family of our industry.
Without trade, we don't feed our families. Without trade, our kids don't go to college. So it's important that we remember why we have an association. It's all about free trade, period.
That's a story we have to tell and then have to get out. Dealers are working for America.
And while you're working for America,
AIADA is working for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome AIADA President Cody Lusk.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to AIADA's 47th annual meeting and luncheon. Dealers like you are working for America to the tune of about 500,000 American jobs. You're selling 59% of the country's retail vehicles, and most importantly, you're contributing to your communities in ways both large and small. I want you to know we're here today celebrating all that you're doing, but we also want to talk about some serious threats that lie ahead. But before I get into that and we launch our program, I want to take a moment and recognize some of our special guests here with us today. First of all, our hosts, and happy 100th birthday to our friends at NADA. We appreciate all you do for us. I also want to recognize Mary Hannigan and her chairman of AFIT-PAC, Fritz Hitchcock. You know what all they do for us, and we appreciate it. Thank you, guys. I also want to recognize our friends and partners at NAMAD, also our friends at the manufacturers and our affinity partners. We couldn't do this without your support, and we appreciate all you do. Thank you. You know, it's hard to believe, but it was 10 years ago in Las Vegas during my very first address as AIADA president, and I thought it was apropos, being in Vegas, that I quote that great philosopher and orator, Mike Tyson. I love Mike Tyson, but I love what he had to say, and he said, you know what? Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Now think about that. Everybody always does have a plan until they get punched right in the face. Well, the bad news for us in our industry is we're about to get hit with a bat. Now, we're not literally getting hit with a baseball bat like this one, but it's going to feel like it. And I can tell you right now, we are preparing. The good news is AIADA is ready for this punch and ready for this hit, and we're going to hit back. Now, you may be wondering, what the hell is he talking about, a bat? Well, in this case, we're talking about a border adjustment tax. I want to be real clear. This has absolutely nothing to do with Donald Trump. The media has confused this issue like I've never seen before, even our own industry. I'm talking about a proposal that's in the House of Representatives tax reform proposal. To be clear, again, this is separate from what President Trump is tweeting out about a border tax. Now, everybody in this room is supporters of tax simplification, reforming our tax code. It really is ridiculous. However, do we really want to cut corporate tax and pay for it with a 20% tax on every single item imported into the U.S., including autos and auto parts? That's what's on the table. Now, this tax wouldn't just impact so-called imported cars. It will affect every single vehicle sold in America. For the average car sold in the USA today, or the US today, a recent Deutsche Bank report said the price would go up about $2,300 per vehicle. Now, you guys know we already have an affordability issue in the auto sector coming, and think about that. Studies say it would reduce vehicle demand by 1.2 million units per year. Your repair costs will skyrocket. Floor planning will go up, eating more of your capital. And vehicles already account for more of a percentage of household budgets than in the past. Add 20% to that sticker, and you have a recipe for an industry-wide disaster. Now, I don't need to stand up here and explain to you how a 20% tax on the vehicles on your lots would be a devastating blow to your businesses and your customers. I think it's fitting that we're here celebrating 100 years of when a group of dealers thought an unfair luxury tax needed representation, so they went to the government and petitioned them, which is our right. I remember when I first started with this association, we fought a luxury tax on automobiles. We fought back quotas. We fought back 100% tariffs that threatened many of your luxury lines. Well, I can tell you right now, we're not going to stand down on this fight either. AIADA is spending all of our time on Capitol Hill talking to our legislators. We're also trying to beat this in the head of the media so they understand what this industry means to America and what the implications are. They need to know that the bat will lead to real job loss for American workers and real hardships for American consumers. But if we're going to stop the bat, we need your help. Now, you probably saw outside a Bat Action sticker. You can get your own sticker, or Bat Action Center when you walked in. On your way out, stop. Take a quick minute. Send a pre-written letter to your representative. Your voice carries a ton of weight in your district. By sending these letters, by calling on their offices, and even tweeting with the Stop the Bat hashtag, we can all move the dial on this critical issue. Now, despite the bat, AIADA, and I think this industry and all of you in this room remain optimistic. We believe that a new president and a new Congress can help American businesses like yours. We can help them succeed by breaking the deadlock of the past decade, enacting positive and meaningful regulation and federal policy. We think we can keep the good times going, but we need your involvement. So with that, let's jump into today's program. First of all, we're going to hear from our 2016 chairman, Greg Kaminsky, as he reflects on his year leading AIADA. We're then going to meet our 2017 chairman, Paul Ritchie from Hagerstown, Maryland, who's going to explain his vision for the year ahead. We'll recognize our recipient of the Munganast Lifetime Achievement Award, and finally hear from today's keynote speaker, John Mendel of Honda. Now, turning to the first step on the agenda, let's take a look back at Greg Kaminsky's year at the helm of our organization. Let's roll the video.
I've grown up in AIADA. I've been coming back to Washington for 20 years, and the dealers that have come before me have represented our industry and our needs, and it's my turn now to do the same for the dealers to come.
Dealers United. That was Greg Kaminsky's purpose last year as chairman of AIADA.
In 2016, one of our major goals was to attract the next-gen dealer to our board.
And did he do it? No question.
Greg Kaminsky was a great breath of fresh air for AIADA.
I think Greg has helped to grow our membership and make them more aware of what our role is up on the Hill and how important that role is.
And he did that for one reason. He did that for all of us.
And something that he likes to say is that, we eat, sleep, and breathe selling cars. Our mission is to help get things right in Washington and then go back home and sell cars.
He spent more time in Washington than he has in the store, and that's significant.
Helping articulate the importance of everything that AIADA and its member dealers stand for.
The accomplishments this past year have been to create a new campaign to show the industry just what we're doing to support free trade.
Greg's such an effective leader and an effective communicator about what he wants to do, the message he wants to have.
I'm hopeful that through our campaign and all that we've done this past year to push forward our message of trade and the importance within our communities and outside, that we are bound together and will continue to fight for our rights.
But Greg has realized, coming through many years and many seats through AIADA, let's stick to the core message. That's what keeps it simple.
Greg Kaminsky was always prepared, always knew what the next question was going to be, and always knew what the answer should be.
Greg is kind of a soft-spoken bull. He gets things done, but in a soft, nice way.
Our team at AIADA is a small team that has a big bark.
That's because you united our dealers in 2016, Greg. So we can concentrate on working for America.
Ladies and gentlemen, the chairman of AIADA, Greg Kaminsky.
Thank you, Cody, for that kind introduction. A week ago, I was with Cody in D.C. for President Trump's inauguration. And I can tell you firsthand that for a so-called swamp, it's pretty cold. Despite the weather, I enjoyed my time there and my chance to be in the eye of a growing political storm. Last year was a busy one for AIADA and its dealers. We actively worked to protect the dealer business model and to combat the CFPB's efforts to undermine your ability to provide customers with viable financing options. But most important to you as a dealer of international brands was our work to combat anti-trade rhetoric and help you engage your candidates and legislators during the campaign season. As the issue of global trade came under fire from both sides of the political aisle, I was heartened by the way this association rose to meet every challenge. AIADA's experienced team in Washington, D.C. made the most of its small and agile structure to react swiftly and capably to each threat, defending our stores at every turn. During my year as chairman, I also gained a new appreciation for my fellow board members. Our board of directors represents all the diverse needs of our industry in Washington, D.C. And I'm convinced that you'd be hard-pressed to find a more dynamic and engaged group of dealers. The highlight of my year as chairman was our work spreading the message about who we are and what we do in Washington. You probably noticed that our AIADA's logo is sporting a new look. This fall, we freshened the design to reflect AIADA's role representing international dealers in Washington, D.C. The logo was launched in conjunction with print and digital ads, as well as op-eds in media outlets around the country, touting the positive impact trade has on American communities, consumers, and economy. When I look forward to 2017 and the challenges and opportunities it holds, it's clear to me that AIADA is essential to preserving the livelihoods of international dealers. Threats that were once hypothetical, like a destructive border tax, are now all too real. We need every friend we can find in Washington. As a new presidential administration takes the stage in D.C., AIADA will continue to be your voice ensuring that legislators understand how issues like trade and taxes impact our stores. I'm confident that AIADA is well equipped to tackle whatever comes our way in 2017. We're all working for America, and I'm honored to have spent this last year working for you. Thank you. And now please enjoy your lunch.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage AIDA Chairman Greg Kaminsky.
As I pass on this chairman's gavel, I'm confident that it's going to a man who knows this industry inside and out. He embodies optimism, energy, and grit. It's all required to make it in this business, and I'm grateful for his willingness to lead. Paul Ritchie is a proven leader whose experience working for both manufacturers and running his own dealerships gives him valuable perspective that will serve this association well. Today, I'm excited about the year that's in store for AIADA. So let's watch this video and learn more about our 2017 chairman, Paul Ritchie.
It's 2017. AIADA members are working for America.
And taking the lead is our chairman, Paul Ritchie.
We don't know what the new administration is going to have as far as their challenges, their goals. We don't know what the new Congress is going to do. So we've got to find that, identify where our challenges are, and take our organization and put it to work.
The great thing about Paul is he sees things how they are. Not worse than they are, but he's a great leader that is showing us a path forward.
Definitely you need kind of that strong focus to stay on point, and there's no better option than Paul Ritchie.
Paul is such a natural leader. He was a former college football player. He's got some coach still in him as well.
That's right, Virginia Tech grad.
Hashtag Hokie Proud.
Oh yeah, big time.
Plus father, grandfather, and horse lover.
He's a big horseman. He loves to fish, which is, I love to fish too. So we like talking fish stories.
And of course, talking cars.
I spent 13 years with manufacturers, 8 with Ford, 5 with Honda, so I got to see it from a different point of view than a dealer. And when I became an automobile dealer, I realized what the factory could and couldn't do. The excitement of having somebody get their new automobile never leaves me. I enjoy watching somebody take delivery of a new automobile.
He's going to bring enthusiasm. He's going to bring, just a wealth of information and knowledge and experience.
He brings the whole package to the chairmanship.
Which does not include soft pedaling the message.
Washington and all that goes with it is like the dog that has an appetite that doesn't know when to stop. They keep eating and eating and eating until everything's gone. So we have to be careful to make sure we curb their hunger. Sorry.
Paul is a real go-getter, a very direct individual. He has a very strong personality. When he speaks, people listen.
He knows what he wants. He knows how to get us there. And I think AIADA is in great hands in 2017.
Paul will take the Capitol by storm.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2017 chairman of AIADA, Paul Ritchie.
Thank you, Greg, for that kind introduction. The theme of today's meeting, Working for America, is fitting, as Greg's personal work ethic has been an inspiration to many of us in 2016. Let's have another round of applause for Greg Kaminsky. Throughout my career, I have enjoyed unwavering support from a few special people. My wife, Carolyn, is here today, as are my sons, Jacob and Britton, who both work in the business. And also here is the best vice president partner any dealer could hope for, Bill Barnes. Will you please stand for a round of applause? My thanks to each of you. Earlier, Greg mentioned the inauguration. Last week, President Trump took the oath of office. A businessman and a political outsider, he now has the privilege and the responsibility of leading this country to new and better heights. I sincerely hope and believe he can unite us in the coming years. As an American, I look forward to what this year holds. I am optimistic the future is bright, but not just for me as a small business owner, but for my children and my grandchildren. Optimism will certainly have its place in the coming months, as will pragmatism. You've heard Greg mention in the video that I am generally someone who sees things as they are. In 1986, I moved from Ford to Honda as a dealer representative. I immediately saw things as they were. I saw that I was working for a different kind of car company, and I immediately knew this was a company where I could build a career. My instincts were right, and as it turned out, they believed in me. In 1990, they gave me a chance to open up a new Honda Point in Hagerstown, Maryland. In order to buy in, I cashed out my 401k, all my kids' college funds, everything. I was all in. Now, 27 years later, that giant leap of faith has been justified. We have grown from one small store with 12 employees to 2 Honda stores and a Kia store and 150 employees. My story probably sounds familiar to many of you. It is the story of a lot of first-generation automobile dealers. And more broadly, it is the story of the American dream. My job in the next 12 months is to preserve that dream and to ensure that it is available for future generations of dealers who want to take a leap of faith. Right now, that means working with everything we have in Washington, D.C. to promote dealer interests, protect global trade, and to fight back against the devastating border adjustment tax. This tax will absolutely devastate both dealers and manufacturers. And many members of Congress have no idea what they're being asked to vote for. That's where AIADA comes in. We are working overtime with a coalition of manufacturers and retailers to build a comprehensive campaign to fight back against BAT and keep dealers' doors open. Some of you may know I'm a big horse guy. We own a little farm in Maryland, and Carolyn and I have enjoyed raising and competing horses for many years. One thing I've learned with horses, they're stubborn. And what they say is true. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. As advocates of our business, we dealers must lead our legislators to the water, and we need to make them drink. We need to lead them to the facts, and then we need to make them understand that if they sign this tax into law, they risk an industry that sold 9.6 million vehicles last year, 59% of all retail units in the United States. Meanwhile, international nameplate manufacturers still operate 36 plants in 16 states and has increased production 47% over the last 10 years. International brands aren't just building and selling cars and creating jobs, they're doing more and more of it every day. That's growth the American economy cannot afford to throw away. Fighting back starts today. I'm going to ask you again what Cody already asked. Please stop at our BAT Action Center, send a letter, send a note as you leave today, and then stay alert. We are going to continue to need your voice in the weeks and months ahead to stop this tax from becoming law. Until then, and as always, keep working for America. Thank you.
Great job, great job.
Absolutely.
How about another hand for your 2017 chairman, Paul Ritchie?
Thank you. Thank you, Governor.
AIADA's annual Lifetime Achievement Award was created because dealers like you are such an important part of the fabric of your communities. You provide untold support for your employees, communities, and our industry itself. To recognize an outstanding dealer who embodies the very best our industry has to offer, AIADA's board named our annual award after legendary St. Louis dealer and great mentor of mine, Dave Mungenast. A man who ran a successful group of dealerships, but is best remembered for all he did for those around him. This year's recipient of the Mungenast Award is also an exceptional dealer and great friend. Let's roll the video.
The David F. Mungenast Sr. Lifetime Achievement Award, established by AIADA to recognize excellence in business acumen, community involvement, and selfless dedication to the industry.
Since 2007, when Dave himself was honored, recipients have reflected the best of what he stood for. So it's fitting that on this 10th anniversary, we recognize another legend, not only in our industry, but AIADA itself.
You couldn't find a better recipient to receive the Mungenast Award than someone that sort of, I would put in Dave's category from the way that he works with his family in the business, multi-generations. He's led dealer councils, he's worked with the state, he's done so much charitable activity. The components of the Mungenast Award, what we call our three pillars, are Jim Smale in a nutshell.
In 2009, 2 years before he became AIADA chairman, Jim reflected on the impact of being committed and involved.
I've been attending AIADA-sponsored events since 1982 and have never missed a Washington Congress or anything. It's the most important part of, I think, this industry right now.
I've known Jim Smale for 3 decades. He is the epitome of the community automobile dealer.
I have looked up to Jim ever since I was a young member on this board.
His selfless dedication to the community, to his employees, to the OEM, that's Jim Smale.
He's a very, very caring person. He raises a lot of money for a lot of great organizations and just has a huge heart.
At Christmas time, I remember he sent me a fabulous bottle of wine, and on the label it said, "Give a little bit of yourself." And that has always stuck with me because that's the spirit that Jim has.
In 2012, Jim's term as past chairman came to a close.
My experience at AIADA, as far as being on the board and being a part of the leadership of this organization, is a very true highlight of my life. But more importantly, I've grown as a person because of AIADA, and there's nothing more important to me than that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Smale.
What you mean to everybody, Jim. Take a look at that. You've done so much for us. Now, all of you know Jim, and Jim's got more friends than any of us could ever hope to have. He's got friends from Canada all the way to the Florida Keys. And one of your good friends, who unfortunately couldn't make it here today, wanted to send along a little special message. So with that, please roll the video.
Hello, Faherty here for the Smale Auto Group with a message for Jim Smale, my dear friend, who's done so much for my Troops First organization. He is the winner of the David F. Mungenast Senior Lifetime Achievement Award, which I'm just proud that I've been able to pronounce it. But Jim has worked so hard for the AIADA, and has raised more than $1.6 million for Faherty's Troops First, and a great deal of money for breast cancer awareness as well. He's just an all-round good guy. Congratulations, Jimmy.
Oh, my God. I am humbled by this. When Cody initially told me about it, humbled and honored at the same time. It's I'll just share a real quick story with you. I met Dave Munganast in 1977. We had both, along with several other dealers, had sent letters to NADA to form a Honda 20 group, and it was the very first Honda 20 group ever formed. Honda was young, and we were all young dealers at that time, and wanted to do something to help ourselves improve by getting input from each other. And that's where I met David, and we became great friends, and he and his wife Barbara and their children, we traveled to the NADA 20 groups, and he was, without a doubt, the most outstanding person I've ever met in this industry, as far as a dealer and as far as a family man and as far as a leader in this industry. And it's so humbling and quite an honor, obviously, to be receiving this award. I'd like to recognize, you don't do these things, and I know you all know this, and all of you are great contributors to your community and so forth, but we don't do it alone. So I'd like my associates that are here, and particularly my wife Nancy, to stand up and just be recognized. And the rest of you. I'll tell you, I'm just overwhelmed by this, and we do have the greatest industry, and I'll just say this: what makes America great is international automobile dealers and their manufacturers. That's what makes America great. Thank you all so very much for this wonderful experience. Cody?
Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage Paul Ritchie.
Honda and AIADA have always had a powerful partnership, and I'm proud to see it continue today, led by our keynote speaker. Since 2007, John Mendel has served as Executive Vice President of American Honda, heading up both Honda and Acura divisions, and he's responsible for U.S. sales and marketing activities of Honda and Acura, as well as Acura parts and service field operations. He brings to us today a clear perspective on the current state of our industry and a powerful message about what it will take to succeed in the coming years. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my friend, John Mendel. Knock him dead.
Thank you, Paul, and good morning, everyone. Good afternoon now. You know, it's been a great week in New Orleans, and the AIADA annual meeting and the lunch is a perfect way to top it off. I'm really honored to be here to share some perspectives with you, but I want to begin by extending a personal welcome to Paul Ritchie, your new chairman. Paul's been a Honda dealer in Maryland for over a quarter century, and he's not only a great dealer, but he's a real leader in his community, with his family, and among Honda dealers in general, and I know he's going to be a very effective leader for AIADA as well. I also want to thank the outgoing chairman, Greg Kaminsky. Now, in his new role, I met Greg over dinner a couple years ago in Los Angeles with another legendary AIADA chairman, Fritz Hitchcock, as Greg was preparing to take over his new role as chairman. We're proud to have him as a Honda dealer as well, but I knew we were really going to get along swimmingly when he showed up for dinner that night with a magnum of Sea Smoke wine. I got to tell you, thanks for your great taste in wine, and most importantly, thanks for your great leadership.
this last year. AIADA is a critical voice for our industry and for those of us representing the international automakers. Now, honestly, in today's global auto business, it's kind of funny that we still talk in those terms. You know, someone showed me a tweet from an industry analyst reacting to our Ridgeline being named North American Truck of the Year at the Detroit Auto Show. And the tweet referred to Honda as an Asian importer. Now, first, that's not a phrase that I'd heard in quite a while, honestly. And it would no doubt come as quite a shock to the Honda engineers and designers in Ohio and California who led the development of Ridgeline, our associates in Alabama who build the Ridgeline and its engine, although some think Alabama is a foreign country, our team in Georgia that makes the transmissions, or the hundreds of U.S. suppliers who make all the parts for the Ridgeline. In fact, 95% of what we sold last year here in America was built right here in North America. But you know, old habits die hard. And in some circles, Honda, Toyota, Mercedes, BMW, and other international brands are still looked at as kind of guests in the American auto industry, rather than the stakeholders that we are. That's why one of the important roles AIADA and all its members have to play is to make sure that your voices and your messages are heard loud and clear. Now, 10 days ago, we inaugurated our 45th president. And there's been a lot of hand-wringing over what the new administration might mean for our industry, and a lot of confusion. It's still early and not time to panic, but we need to be vigilant and we need to be engaged. And in that spirit, hats off to Cody Lusk and his team for all they do. We've been a proud partner with AIADA for many years. Cody's discussed the border adjustment tax proposal that could have some very profound implications for our industry. And there are plans to renegotiate NAFTA, which over the past 2 decades has really led to North American-wide parts sourcing and production for the entire automobile industry. How this all comes out will remain to be seen. But I encourage each of you to talk to your representatives in Washington and tell them how important the international auto industry is to their constituents, to their communities, and to your businesses. Both in my role leading Honda's automobile business and from my vantage point as chairman of global automakers, I'm actually keenly aware of the contribution that international nameplates make to this industry. Collectively, global members represent direct employment of hundreds of thousands of Americans who annually produce some 4.6 million vehicles in this country. A capital investment of $56 billion, leading to the purchase each year of another $70 billion plus in parts and materials from U.S. suppliers. And that's really only part of the story. Because the nearly 10,000 international brand auto dealers across America, represented by all of you here today and others, create almost 600,000 American jobs with an annual payroll of more than $30 billion. Working for America, indeed. But I'd argue that the key to the collective contribution we make to our industry and to this nation goes well beyond the numbers. Together, the manufacturers and dealers in this room have impacted this industry in very profound ways. But when people talk about the companies that serve as a positive disruptive force in our industry today, they're more likely to mention Google or Tesla or Uber or Apple. But I'd argue that AIADA and the nameplates that you all represent have long been the innovators and disruptors in this industry, creating new value for consumers, for the economy, and for our nation. If you think back to when AIADA was created, when a group of Volkswagen dealers made the visionary decision to band together in a trade group, and there are a number of you here who will remember that it was a time when upstart organizations were really challenging the traditional thinking of the status quo. Now, 1 week from today, the NFL will hold Super Bowl 51. But what made the very first game super is that it pitted the traditional NFL against an upstart, the AFL. If you look at the game today, it isn't the 3-yard and a cloud of dust offense of the old NFL. It's the high-flying passing game of the AFL. Consider the NBA, where the long-distance sharpshooting, the Golden State Warriors, is said to be redefining how the game is played. Except the three-point shot was actually pioneered more than 40 years ago by the upstart ABA. So was the slam dunk contest, now so popular it has its own night on TV. Maybe the red, white, and blue ball didn't make it, but that's a different story. But you can make a strong case that it was fresh thinking of those new leagues that actually transformed professional sports and led to new levels of popularity. I think there's a clear parallel to the auto industry as well, with the way that international automakers and dealers have employed new thinking and approaches to really reshape the direction of the U.S. auto industry. Over the last 3 decades, by almost every measure, quality, safety, environmental performance, and yes, even customer satisfaction, our industry and the people in this room have advanced to new heights through the efforts of you all and the international brands. I guess one of the biggest myths about AIADA is the idea that the brands you all represent are just somehow minority owners of this business, shipping in parts from overseas, assembling them here, and then shipping the profits back home to Germany or Korea or Japan. In fact, this is the 40th anniversary of Honda's announcements that it would build products, including automobiles, right here in America. Starting with production of the Accord back in 1982, we've continued to advance our operations and grow the capabilities of our American associates. We now have 5 auto plants in America, opened the last one in Ohio just last year to build the Acura NSX supercar. And we have a host of other plants that build transmissions and engines, power equipment, power sports products, and jets and jet engines, along with the most mature local product development operations of any international OEM. 2 recent studies provide kind of independent perspective on this comment and this commitment. Last year, Cars.com released its 2016 American-Made Index, and Honda took 3 of the top 5 positions in the production-based index, and our friends at Toyota taking the other 2 spots to round out the top 5. And research recently published by USA Today showed that Honda is second only to Ford in the percentage of our annual sales that come from products built right here in America. Looking back, one of our advantages in the early 80s was the perception that products made in Japan were of higher quality. In fact, when we started building cars here in '82, everyone, even some of our own dealers, were concerned that it would adversely impact Honda's reputation. And what Honda brought to the industry was a different approach that has eventually touched almost every other automaker and supplier. We focused on a flexible and efficient approach to manufacturing, removing waste, with continuous improvement and teamwork between Honda associates and suppliers to meet customer expectations for quality and value. Now, with consumers embracing the high-quality vehicles made by Honda's American workers, Accord became the best-selling car in America. And 8 other international companies followed along. Today, the quality of almost every vehicle produced in America has risen to the highest levels ever as a positive result of competition and the presence of international automakers. Another area where international brands and AIADA have led the industry is customer satisfaction. Again, go back to 1970, the year AIADA was established, because that was also the year that Honda began sales in America. We were known as a motorcycle manufacturer in those days, and our first cars were so small that the Detroit automobile dealers actually, who had been in business for decades, didn't see any reason to take an upstart like Honda really very seriously. And as I told the industry audience earlier this week, many established dealers who actually agreed to sell our products did so kind of from the used car lot. They couldn't yet really appreciate the focus on quality products in the sales experience, something that was shared by a number of international brands. Our top executives at the time collaborated very closely with J.D. Power and Associates, leading actually to the customer satisfaction index. Now, this new system at the time wasn't yet the marketing tool it is today, but it really enabled Honda to obtain customer opinions about our products and our dealers' treatment of the customer. And this helped our dealers really understand our core values and adopt a new approach for their Honda business. Honda and Acura went on to become leaders in CSI. In fact, in the late 1980s, early 90s, our Acura division set the highest scores in the history of the CSI study and really led the industry in each of the brand's first 4 years of existence. Since that time, more often than not, it has been international brands that have led the satisfaction ratings each year, breaking the paradigm of customer treatment. And I could wax on about how international brands and Honda were the first automaker to meet the 70 U.S. Clean Air Act and virtually every other low-emission vehicle requirement. But the point is that international brands have consistently served as key innovators within the industry to the benefit of customers and society at large. So, we have a great story to tell, a story of leadership and innovation and constantly growing investment in America and American jobs. And we need to continue telling that story. All of you in this room are deeply invested in this business, and not just financially. With very few exceptions, I'd say you're in this business because you love cars, you're energized by the business, and you're committed to the communities and, most importantly, your customers. We all have a part to play in making sure the auto industry has a bright and prosperous future. So as you make your way home from New Orleans, I encourage each of you to spend a little bit of time thinking deliberately and carefully about the role that we all have to play, about your role, your core values, and how you're living them out in your business and in your daily interactions with your team, and of course about your customers. I'm also going to ask you to think about one other thing. Obviously, this is a tremendous turnout, and I'll refrain from the joke about perhaps a greater attendance than the inauguration, but maybe that's just from my angle. I don't know. But I really want you to think about, you're the dedicated people. You're here listening to this message. I really want you to think about one other dealer or AIAD member that you're going to reach out to engage them in this process. You know, we're no longer the import industry. We're proud of that legacy, but now you all should be proud to represent people who are really American companies. Together, we can take this industry to an even better place, one that everyone recognizes as adding real value and improving people's lives. And in that way, we can ensure a bright and prosperous future for this wonderful and exciting industry. I thank you for listening, and good luck. Let's have a great year. Thank you very much.
Another hand for John Mendel. Thank you, John. You know, we couldn't close on a more important message than what John just gave us, and thank you, John. We appreciate that. Again, thank you to all of you in the room, but it's the people that aren't here we need to reach, and you know that. So listen, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for taking the time out to join us today. Thank you in advance for stopping by and sending a no-bat letter to your member of Congress. I look forward to seeing you all soon. Safe travels.